Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Daria. I am a lawyer and academic based in Berlin. I did my master's at Harvard Law School a few years ago, and in this video I would like to share the strategy behind my Harvard application, specifically Harvard LL.M personal statement part B. If you're interested in part A, I have several in-depth blog posts. I'll link them down below. For the purposes of this video, what I'm going to do is I will show you my essay and I will walk you through it paragraph by paragraph and tell you what my thinking was. What I often see when applicants come to me is that there is no strategy behind paragraphs, and paragraphs look like semi-random collections of thought. But the thing is, each essay is a montage. It's like a movie. It's a carefully selected collection of ideas. One has to flow into the other. So this video is going to be about how I did that for my own LLM application. I hope it's going to be helpful for you. The principles are the same regardless of the university and the country. Usually the US personal statements are more personal, European statements are less personal, but the core question is always the same because you're answering why you want to do this degree. And that's what this video is going to be about. Let's dive in. First of all, a few comments about the essay. As you can see, it has a quote in the very beginning of the essay, and then it has 8 paragraphs in total. About the quote, I think it's better to just not use a quote at all because it's very hard to pull off. A mistake that a lot of applicants do is that they use a quote that they like, that's meaningful for them, but doesn't have any connection to the actual text of the essay. As I will show you in this video, the quote that I used, it reflects the main idea of my essay, and I think that's when a quote can be effective. Regarding the structure of the body of the essay, you will see that it is circular. I start with a metaphor, and the metaphor is about an American children's book called Pollyanna. And I conclude with the same metaphor. This is just something that I really like doing. I like bringing things back to where I started to show the character development. Of course, you don't have to do that, and it's only one way to write. Now I'm just going to go paragraph by paragraph. By the way, my apologies for no eye contact. I am looking at the essay to make sure that I'm actually giving you the detailed comments. Paragraph number 1 starts with a flashback, and it goes very far back, 20 years back. It portrays my socioeconomic background. I do this by using a metaphor, as I mentioned, from a well-known American children's book. The reason I do this is because it allows me to portray the circumstances and the environment in which I grew up in a way that is very accessible to an American audience. Please notice that this paragraph is very short. I do not dwell on it. I give only as much as needed to give the reader a picture, an overall understanding, and to move on. One of the reasons I have this paragraph at all is that it is connected to my later decisions. It is connected to why I became a lawyer in the first place, and that's why I included it. Then comes paragraph number 2, and that's a continuation of paragraph number 1. The function of this paragraph is to show the reader how I was exposed to the idea that becoming a lawyer was possible and how I decided to become a lawyer. For me, that happened through the All Russian competitions in law. Yours may be different, or maybe you will not talk about it at all. But I did, and the reason I did was because it again ties into the overall theme that I'm talking about in this essay, which is the perception of lawyers as not as decision makers, but rather as people who advise decision makers. Paragraph number 3 is about my search for professional identity. It's about all the diverse experiences of me working as a lawyer that I collected. I'd like to point out that it is a very short paragraph. It's only 4 short sentences. And that's about 3 years of my life. What this paragraph does is that it illustrates one of the principles of application writing. That principle is that you do not have to be faithful to the scale of the experience in your real life. You can describe an experience that occupied a lot of your life in a very succinct manner, and you can dedicate a lot of your essay to something that objectively was comparatively small, but subjectively was meaningful to you. The function of this paragraph was to show the breadth of experience and to set the stage for paragraph number 4. And I did it as economically as I could, and then I moved on to paragraph number 4. And paragraph number 4 develops the insight that I gained from all of those experiences. That insight is that, as I quote, the decision-making is not regarded as a lawyer's domain. And I develop this insight, and I define and elaborate on this insight, and then I move on to paragraph number 5. Paragraph number 5 shows my dissatisfaction with that insight. It shows the process of questioning that began for me. Here I bring in another experience. That experience is coaching a team for a moot court. Here I'd like to illustrate another point that's very important for application writing. And it's that you have to be very selective. You have to be specific. For instance, here I name the moot court, but you also have to be very selective. I've been involved in multiple moot courts, but here I've only chosen to talk about one. What I see often is that applicants do not discriminate among their experiences. If they've done 5 moot courts, they will talk about all 5. And that's counterproductive because it doesn't do what you think it will do. It doesn't show that you are a very smart individual who's been so active and was involved in so many co-curricular activities. What it shows is that you can't select among ideas, and you can discriminate and prioritize ideas. And that's a skill that's important in application writing because you have to be very concise and very economical. After paragraph 5, where I describe how the moot court gave me an idea for a solution, I developed this in paragraph number 6. And here I bring in another experience. That experience is about a teaching engagement at the Moscow State University. It is only here that I talk about my future plans. My future plans are related to teaching and academia. Here I'd like to point out that it's very important to be clear about your plans, but you don't have to start with them. I see a lot of people starting with, my motivation to pursue an LLM program is threefold. That usually makes for a superficial essay. Try to find a theme for your professional life and your personal life, and try to craft a message that ties into your motivation. And that's going to be more effective. Then I have paragraph 7, and that's where I talk about Harvard and my application to Harvard. That's illustrative of another principle of application writing. And it's that if you're applying to a prestigious institution like Harvard or Oxford or Cambridge, or whatever it is that's at the top, usually it is presumed that you're applying there because, well, it's that prestigious institution. When you're applying to Harvard, it's pretty obvious that you're applying because it's Harvard. As you see, I only have one paragraph, and my paragraph is about a vision. It's about this idea of a constructive dialogue about law, lawyers, and the teaching of law at an international level. I don't have name courses. I talk about community. And then I have a closing paragraph, which is paragraph number 8. And here I bring the reader back to where I started and play with this idea of a script. I show how the character, me, changed throughout the essay and life. Something I'd like you to know about this paragraph is that when I wrote the essay, I asked a native English speaker to review it and give me feedback. And he was very dismissive of this metaphor. He said, well, it's a cliche. You should just get rid of paragraph number 8 and finish on paragraph number 7 because it all works together well already. I was very offended because, first of all, it is my view that it would only be a cliche if I were American, because it's an American cultural reference. But coming from me, it shows cultural awareness, and he did not appreciate it. And that's okay. I did not listen to his feedback. I made my own decisions, and it worked out. When you are asking for feedback, keep in mind that feedback is important, but you don't have to accept it if it just doesn't resonate with you. I really think it works well here. And that's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope it's going to be helpful.